All right, hi everybody. It's 4 o'clock, so we're going to get this session started. Thanks so much for joining us tonight. This informational session is about the Master of Healthcare Innovation, which is an online master's program here at the University of Pennsylvania. First, a few housekeeping items before we get started. There will be dedicated time for Q&A at the end of the session, but if you have a question as we're going, feel free to type that in the chat box and ask it. I've also put up my email address in the chat box in case you want to contact me after the session. And we're also recording the session, and a link to that will be sent out to everybody afterwards. So this is what we're going to be talking about today. The program has a little bit of a non-traditional structure, so we'll do an overview of the degree program and how all of that works. We'll talk about the in-person, on-campus component of the program. We'll review the current curriculum and tuition. We'll talk about what it's like to learn online in this degree, and actually we will show you what one of the online courses looks like. We'll get a chance to hear from a couple of current students about their experience in the program. And finally, we'll talk about how the admissions process works and how to apply. I should introduce myself. My name is Catherine Rodella. I'm the program manager for the Master of Healthcare Innovation, or the MHCI as we like to call it. So what that means is I'm involved on the administrative side of the program. Most of my job involves student support, so I'm the first point of contact for both current students and applicants for the program. Also on the session with me is Adam Zolkover. Adam will be the one who will actually walk you through that online course when we get to that part. So Adam, do you want to introduce yourself quickly?
Oh, there I am.
Hi, yeah. My name is Adam, and I am the Associate Director for Online Instructional Design. What I do is I work with faculty to get their content online.
Great, thanks. So again, if you have questions as we go, feel free to type that in the chat box. Otherwise, we'll be keeping participants muted until we get to the Q&A session at the end. So the Master of Healthcare Innovation, or the MHCI, is a fully accredited master's program here at the University of Pennsylvania. It's designed to help you improve healthcare. Which is really something that today's healthcare professionals need to know how to do, whether you're a clinician, manager, executive, researcher. How can you shape policy? How can you influence patient and provider behavior? How do you identify inefficiencies and test solutions? These are topics that are not typically covered in medical school or nursing school or business school. So these are gaps in healthcare professionals' knowledge, and that's what this degree aims to fill. This is really what sets a Master of Healthcare Innovation apart from those other types of degrees. And one of the biggest aspects of this degree program is building a network. You're really getting connected to a wide variety of healthcare professionals from all different sectors of healthcare, both through your fellow students that you'll learn together with, and from faculty and other experts that you get exposed to throughout the degree. The degree covers 4 main subject areas. It's a very interdisciplinary degree. That's the way that innovation is. And we have faculty from several different schools here at the university. So the 4 main topic areas that the courses focus on are health policy, behavioral economics, operations management, and innovation methodology. So what's unique about the University of Pennsylvania is that we have faculty who are really world experts in each of these areas all in one place. This degree is housed in the Department of Medical Ethics and Health Policy, which is in the Perelman School of Medicine. So a lot of faculty are drawn from the School of Medicine in this department, but we also have faculty from Wharton Business School, from Penn Law, and from the Penn Medicine Center for Healthcare Innovation. Included these competencies because I think they show a bit more what sets an MHCI apart from other degrees. What differentiates it is that you're focusing on these types of skill sets broadly grouped into innovation skills and leadership skills. When we send out the recording after the session, we will also include a PDF that has more detail about these competencies and also some learning objectives for the program. So you'll be able to use that document to help explain maybe to a supervisor or any stakeholder that you want to get support from, this is what you would be able to do if you got a Master of Healthcare Innovation degree. So what do students actually do in the MHCI degree? I mentioned that networking is a huge part of it. You're going to build a network of innovative healthcare professionals and resources. In your classes with fellow classmates, you're going to be constantly interacting with people who work in all different parts of the healthcare system. You're going to be working with faculty members who are active researchers, active policymakers, and you're going to get exposed to experts from all different parts of the healthcare system through guest lectures, through the on-campus session, and through various speaker series that we do. And don't be fooled by the online format. There's a lot of relationship building that goes on in this program. One of our students at graduation recently actually said that he forged more meaningful relationships and connections in this degree than he had in his 4 years in undergrad. So be prepared to do a lot of network building in this program. You're going to develop skills to design systemic solutions to problems in healthcare. This is not a research degree. This is a very practical degree. You learn tools that you can apply immediately and that you're going to practice immediately in your workplace and in the courses. And finally, all those concepts that you learn, you'll get to practice them in real time in innovation labs throughout the course. So who are MHCI students? They're mid-career healthcare professionals from all different backgrounds, all different sectors of healthcare, but they all have a shared goal of improving the way that healthcare is delivered. We've listed some of the titles and some of the backgrounds that our students have here, but this is definitely not an exhaustive list. There are probably more sectors of healthcare that would be a great fit for the program that we haven't seen yet. Off the top of my head, I can think of dental medicine would be another one. Um, on average, our students have 14 years of professional experience in healthcare. That ranges on the lower end for people who are more early career, might have 3 or 4 years of professional experience. And we have students who have been working for decades in their careers with 30 plus years of experience. The program is growing. Right now, we have 52 students total. The newest cohort that just started this fall has 34 students in it. And they come from all over. We have students from all over the United States, as well as students from Thailand, United Arab Emirates, and Japan. And there's a few different reasons that students do the program. Like I said, they have many different backgrounds, so everybody has very individual goals. But 3 reasons that we see frequently are some students want to improve the work that they're doing in their current role. Some of our students have recently taken on a new role or are about to take on a new role in their organization, and they want to learn some new skills to fill some knowledge gaps so that they can make sure they're successful in that new role. And other students are aspiring to a more leadership role in the future. So at the on-campus seminar is the in-person session of the degree. This is where you'll get to meet all of those wonderful students and where you'll really start to build those connections that carry you throughout the degree. It's the very first thing you'll do as a student in this program before you even take any online classes. And it happens once a year annually. So most students who are in the program for 20 months will attend the on-campus seminar twice. It happens every August. It's 4 or 5 days, depending on whether you're a new student or a returning student here in Philadelphia on Penn's campus. The next one is scheduled for August 21st through 25th, and it normally happens at around that same week every year, so you can plan around that. Like I said, the main goal of the on-campus session is for the students to meet in person and start building those connections, both with fellow students and with the faculty and guest speakers. but it's a pretty jam-packed week. There are interactive workshops. We have lectures, presentations, panels by both faculty in the program and outside speakers. And there are orientation sessions. For example, for new students, there's a technology orientation. So we make sure everybody knows how to log into their classes, how to navigate them before they even ever have to take one of the online classes. Students are responsible for their own travel to and from Philadelphia, but other than that, the seminar is at no additional cost to the students. Lodging is provided to those who opt in, and all the activities and meals are covered while the students are here. And it's a really fun, exciting week. This is what gets people pumped and enthused about the program right at the beginning. Everyone gets to know each other really well over this relatively short amount of time. Any questions so far about students, about this on-campus session?
Feel free to write your questions in the chat.
Yeah, you can write your questions up in the chat box and we'll answer them. Otherwise, there's time at the end where you can ask your questions then. So this is a bird's eye view of the curriculum. Typically, students complete the degree in 20 months. There is a 3-year option as well for anybody who might need to spread out the time commitment or the financial commitment over a longer period of time. In that case, you'd essentially be taking this first year of the program and spreading it out over 2 years, where the final year of the program largely remains the same. But this is what a typical curriculum would look like for a student. Like I mentioned, that you'll see we kick off each school year with that on-campus session, the on-campus seminar, and then after that, for the rest of the school year, students are taking their courses online. These are the dates for the courses in this current academic year, so they'd be a little bit different next year, but the structure would remain largely the same. You might notice from the dates that these are not semester-long classes. Classes are typically 6 weeks long. The blue core courses and pink elective courses are 6 weeks long. And the lab courses, the ones in yellow, are 4 weeks long. So there's a typical rhythm of the program. We're usually in a course for 6 weeks, and typically there's a week off in between courses. So you kind of get into that 6 weeks on, 1 week off rhythm. A couple of exceptions. The first 2 lab courses do overlap slightly with their core course. And there's a larger break both over the summer and over the winter. So these blue core courses, they cover those 4 main topic areas that I mentioned before: the health policy, operations management, behavioral economics, and innovation methodologies. 4 of the core courses have lab courses associated with them. So again, labs are where you would practice putting some of those concepts to work. And then students are able to choose 2 elective courses according to their own interests or goals. During these 6-week courses, they are equivalent in work and content to a typical semester-long course. So just keep in mind that they're pretty intensive, but you're only taking one at a time. So while you're in one of these courses, you can expect to spend around 13 to 15 hours per week working on them. And that includes both what you might consider in-class and out-of-class time. So watching lecture videos, doing readings, and working on whatever homework assignments you might have. So there are 4 lab courses. They're a little bit different than what you might imagine an in-person lab course to be. You'll be practicing concepts from the core courses. And the way that works is that you usually get some kind of mini project that you're working on throughout that 4 weeks of the course. So for example, in the behavioral economics lab, you're getting a case study to analyze, and you develop a proposal for a behavioral economics intervention. So something like that, where you're really working on a project on your own for the most part. In the first 2 labs, you're learning skills to get your ideas out in the world. And in the last 2 labs of the program, which always happen in the final semester, no matter which track you're on, those are where you're really drawing on your work experience to develop a project proposal. So at the end of the degree, you'll have a fully developed innovation project proposal in hand that's ready to be implemented as soon as you graduate. These are the elective course options being offered for the current academic year. Offerings can change from year to year, but this gives you an idea of the types of topics that might be available. You'll notice that 3 of these elective courses have 2 topics paired together. Those are a way to expose students to even more ideas in keeping with this interdisciplinary spirit of the degree. In those paired electives, you'll be working on one topic for the first 3 weeks and then the second topic for the second 3 weeks, and topics are paired together to be complementary to each other. So of roughly 4 options, you'll be able to choose and take 2 electives while you're in the degree. Tuition, so students are charged or billed as they register for courses each semester. So at the beginning of each term, students register for their courses, and depending on how many credits they've registered for, that's what they get billed for a few weeks later. So just to note, the way that Penn counts course credits is they use something called CUs, or course units. One course unit here is equivalent to a typical semester-long course. So what might often be a 3-credit course at another university is a 1 CU course here. So our core courses and electives are each 1 CU, and lab courses are a half CU. Over the entire degree, students will take 11 CUs total. So that puts the projected total cost at about $63,000. And that's everything, all tuition and fees are included in that estimate. For the upcoming academic year, 1 course unit is about $5,700, and rates are subject to change slightly from year to year. In this table on the right is a breakdown of how many course units per semester students will take on the 20-month track. So you can see it's pretty even throughout the degree, 2 to 2.5 CUs per semester. If you're on the 3-year extended track, you'll be taking somewhere from 1 to 2.5 CUs per semester. Not most of our students, but some of our students are self-funded. Some students are able to get tuition assistance from their employers, and some students do apply for federal financial aid for loans. So just one thing I want to mention about that, if you do plan to go the federal aid route, you need to take at least 2 CUs in a semester in order to be eligible for aid in that semester. So if you're on the 20-month track, you're fine. You'll be eligible in every semester of the program. If you're thinking about that 3-year track, you're definitely going to have semesters in which you're taking fewer than 2 CUs, so you would not be eligible in every semester if you were on that track. But the extended track is still a way to spread out that financial commitment over a longer period of time. Any questions about tuition so far?
Hi, sorry, I joined late. Just a quick question. Is there such a thing as out-of-state and in-state tuition costs?
No, there's not. It's the same rate whether you're in or out of state.
Great, thank you.
Yep, you're welcome. So the course experience, this is what is usually a little bit different for our students. Most of our students have never taken an online class before, at least not an academic online class. Maybe they've done professional development webinars, and a lot of our students haven't been in school for a really long time. So the course format is something that I think can cause a little bit of anxiety in students before they start the program, but once they get into it, you'll be able to see that they're pretty intuitive to navigate. Courses are either, like I said, 6 weeks long or 4 weeks for the labs. And there's a typical rhythm that you get into. So if you look, this is a example of 1 month in one of our courses. The blue squares here are when different assignments are due. So assignments are normally due on Sundays or Tuesdays. So you usually have at least the whole weekend to work on them. And then in yellow are what are called synchronous classes, live video sessions with the instructor. Again, you should expect to spend around 13 to 15 hours per week working on the courses. And there are typical things that you're going to be doing every week. So content-wise, you'll watch brief, engaging lecture videos by the faculty members. You'll have readings that will help supplement the lectures. There's always going to be some interactive components every week. So every week there's a discussion thread with your students. There's always a faculty interaction that usually takes the form of one of those live sync classes that I mentioned. So that live component is for 1 hour, roughly once a week, led by the faculty member. And it's also recorded for later viewing in case anybody has a conflict that they can't avoid. And finally, there are different ways to assess your learning. So some weeks you might have a quiz to take online. You'll have various homework assignments with specific due dates, and there's always a final project or paper at the end of the class. Someone asked in the chat, are live sessions mandatory? They're mandatory in that you either have to attend live or you have to watch the recording afterwards in order to get the participation credit. We strongly recommend attending live when you can. It's really important to get that regular interaction with the faculty member and with the class, and this is your chance to ask them questions and get things explained. But everyone in the program is working full-time and has all sorts of different schedules, so obviously that's not always possible, and that's why the recordings are available. Now I'm going to pass it over to Adam, who will show you what one of the courses actually look like. We use a learning platform called Canvas, so he'll show you what that looks like.
Hi, while I switch over to the other screen, somebody asks, how long are faculty interactions typically? And the answer is that they are typically an hour, and there are typically 5 of them in a 6-week course. I know that there were some other questions, and I'm going to leave them there for Catherine for when she takes the screen back. Can everybody see my browser? What you're seeing in my browser is the front page of the American Healthcare System, which is the first class in our series for master's students. The front page of the class is all the typical things that you'd expect from a syllabus. It has contact information for the faculty member, for the TAs. It has some additional things too, though. It has contact information for course support. But going down the page, you can see that there's an overview of the course with learning objectives so that you can measure your learning as you go. There's an explanation of all the different parts of the course. You'll be able to read through it before every class starts. There's a list of topics and key dates so that you can plan from the get-go before you even look at the content of the course when you're going to need to make some time to do your work. And then there's a breakdown of grading. Finally, running down the page, maybe the most important part of the front page is the big red Start Here button. And when you click the Start Here button, it takes you to the course modules, which is where the meat of the course is. And I just wanted to show you the course modules pretty quickly. Course modules, like I said, is where all of the readings, all of the lectures, all of the assignments live. In a typical weekly module, what you'll see is an overview page that explains what you're doing over the course of the week. Several video lectures. These are short, engaging lectures that have the faculty member, sometimes a guest. There are slides that are created by our professional graphic designer. And I'll show you one of those lectures in just a minute. Running down, you see the readings for the week, interactions for the week. There's the one live synchronous class, and then there are interactions that happen via discussion forum. And then finally, the build your knowledge assignment, which is sort of a practice assignment in this case. Sometimes those are short papers, sometimes those are quizzes, and then there are some other options. Showing you one of the lecture videos is a little bit difficult over streaming. I can't actually play the video, but what I can do is I can show you the page. And what you see here is that every video has the amount of time that it'll take to watch the video, and that's really important in case, for example, you're watching videos between meetings. It has the embedded video itself. You see, you can click to view the video directly on the web. That'll give you a full screen version. And you can also download a transcript with key slides embedded for every one of our course videos. All of our videos also have supplementary material. Some of them have downloadable handouts, again, made by our professional graphic designer. And every one of these pages has support links in case you need some help. That includes ways to get help yourself and also ways to contact us in order to get help. The last thing that I wanted to show you was a typical assignment. And this is a discussion forum. It's actually from another class, but I think it'll give you a good idea of what's going on here. Every week you're asked to read a prompt. In this case, you're given a couple of scenarios to respond to. And then you're asked to respond to that prompt. There are some questions, there are some ideas to get you started, but basically what you're doing is thinking through the week's material based on some kind of prompting from the instructor or the professor in the class. That is a course in a nutshell. A couple of things to know. Our course weeks usually run, as Catherine said, from Tuesday through Monday so that you have time on the weekends to get that work done. And there's always help. The TAs are there to help. We are there in terms of technical help. And there's always the opportunity to contact the professor of the course via email to have conversations about content for the course. So with that, I'm going to give the screen back to Catherine, who will take you back to the presentation and through the rest of the session.
All right, thank you, Adam. Before I go to the next slide, I see a couple of questions I wanted to make sure I get to. Our faculty interactions during office hours. So those live sync classes, the times do vary from course to course. Within some courses, they vary from week to week. But yes, often they are during normal office hours. They tend to be either around lunchtime or late afternoon, like 4 or 5 o'clock Eastern time. So if you're on the East Coast in the US, you should expect that it will happen during normal work hours sometimes. If you're on the West Coast, some of those might be in the morning for you. But they are all recorded, so if you absolutely can't make it, you can still watch that recording and still get that participation credit. Another question, if we know now that we can't attend the in-person seminar in August, what options do we have if we want to start in fall 2020? If that's the case, contact me individually. It's happened to 1 or 2 people in the past and we were able to work out something, usually have the student attend some other innovation events and make up the networking piece in other ways. One more question before we move on. Can you please confirm that there is no option to start the program in January? Yes, that's correct. The program starts in late August every year in the fall semester. So really what I want you to remember about these online courses is they're built to be flexible. They were specifically designed for professionals working full-time and learning remotely. Aside from those live sync classes, all of the content is available on demand within the course run date. So no matter what your schedule is, if you have a night shift and your break is at 2 in the morning, you can work on it then and that's totally fine. And like Adam said, there is a lot of support. You're not going to be off on your own trying to figure out this online platform. There are real humans here to support you. We have in-house tech support for the classes on the MHCI staff team. There are TAs who can help you with course content questions. You can email the faculty members with questions and set up office hours by appointment. So there's a lot of support and we'll teach you how to navigate all of this on the on-campus session before you even start any of your classes. Any other questions about the online courses and how any of that works before we move on? Okay, looks like everybody's good. So now I'm really excited that we're able to have a couple of our current students on the call. So I'm going to make sure I unmute them so that they can talk to us. All right, so our two students who are on the call are Chuck Bay. Chuck is a physician at the Penn Sleep Center here at the University of Pennsylvania. He is the Associate Chief for Innovation, Outcomes, Quality, and Big Data. Chuck is a second-year student, so he'll be graduating just in a few months this spring. Bianca Bellick is Senior Manager of Advisory Services at Athena Health. And she's a member of our newest cohort. So she just started the program this fall, a few months ago. So Chuck and Bianca, thank you so much for being on the call. First, can you just quickly introduce yourselves before we get to the questions?
Sure.
Chuck, you want to start?
Okay. Do they need to see me or I can just talk?
Your video's on, so we can see you.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
I'm glad I wasn't picking my nose, I guess. So I'm Chuck Bay. I am a neurologist by training with a focus in sleep medicine. And I was at the Cleveland Clinic for my training and most of my professional life for 19 years until I came to Penn Medicine 3 years ago. And when I was at the Cleveland Clinic, there was a lot of on-the-job kind of through working experience with healthcare operations and process improvement. I'm interested in quality. And then when I came here, I was interested in pursuing some sort of master's degree, possibly an MBA, but then once I learned more about it, I wasn't interested so much about the business side of things, but then once I came across these courses and the content, it really kind of resonated with me looking at the syllabus, because it's really the right mix of healthcare operations, process improvement, and healthcare economics with the focus on the behavioral economics side of things. And I can't believe how fast the time has gone because everything that I've learned so far and will learn for the rest of the program will really help me innovate in the healthcare space. And as you can see by my long title, I just got that this summer. It's kind of like a promotion, but really, I guess, recognizing my experience and what I'm going to do at the sleep center here.
Awesome, thank you. Bianca, you want to introduce yourself?
Yep. Hi, everyone. I'm Bianca. And as Catherine mentioned, I work with the advisory services team at Athena Health, the ambulatory EHR company. Before working at Athena Health, I've been in some version of healthcare sales over 17 years. And I started out working for a very large integrated health system back in 2002, before ACOs were even a thing. And I was so fascinated by kind of the business side, I guess, of healthcare delivery that I geared my career towards that. So my most recent work is working with practices and providers, helping them to kind of fight underpayments and denials for non-par services, and then moving on to performance, EHR, clinical and revenue cycle technologies, and then consulting services that help providers, practices, and hospitals improve healthcare. So when I found this program, I thought it was literally made for me. I was at a point in my career where I was really deep into understanding the challenges, the nuances, the hiccups in healthcare delivery from a provider perspective, and providing solutions to help them improve those workflows. So in the short amount of time that I've been in the program, I've already been able to apply the things that I'm learning into my current career in helping providers kind of tackle those issues, particularly with EHR technologies as well. So great to meet everyone.
All right, thanks. My first question for both of you, you've actually both touched on a little bit already. So I was going to ask, why did you decide to do the MHCI? So if there's anything else you want to add that you haven't mentioned already? Chuck, you want to say? Yeah.
So that was the main thing, is certainly it's almost like I guess, not a midlife crisis, but a mid-career transition, coming to a new place, to a place like Penn. I thought it'd be a good time to take some more classes. And when I looked into it, I saw first the certificate option, but then soon after that, I saw there was an option to do a master's program, and that really interested me. And also just based on the design, it was really, as you mentioned, designed for a working person, because it really has been pretty easy to fit this into my work and personal life. I do have a busy home life with 3 kids under the age of 16, so it's worked out really well.
Yeah, for me, kind of similar to Chuck in that I was at a stage in my career where I wanted to maximize some of the things that I learned over time, but then also be able to pivot to new things. And with the company that I'm with now, they've been around close to 30 years, but very entrepreneurial in spirit. And so part of their mission is to kind of change and innovate healthcare as it relates to data technology and health records. And so the mission really made me think about how can I do something different and approach healthcare in a different way. And so part, hey, what could I do career-wise to kind of pivot or expand my knowledge base? And how can I truly align myself with the direction of my company? And there are tons of great programs out there centered around healthcare, but none seem to be quite a fit for what I was looking for. And so the Masters in Healthcare Innovation is such a brilliant name. It literally aligns with kind of what I was looking for. And the more I looked in the curriculum, kind of the agility of the offerings, being able to work it into my full-time schedule. I also travel a lot for work. There were a lot of reasons that I ultimately decided to go with the program, but primarily just looking for something mid-career, and this program being something interesting that I hadn't really seen in the graduate healthcare space before.
Thanks. And I do see there are some questions coming in the chat for the students. So I have a couple of more questions for you guys that I'll ask first, and then I'll go to these some of these questions in the chat. Chuck, and then I'll ask you, Bianca, can you tell us a little bit about how the program has impacted your work so far?
For me, I guess the main way it's impacted me is just allowed me to be more effective in my role as the associate chief of all that kind of stuff, and really help manage teams, because this is one of the first times that I've had to work with so many people and so many different projects. And so it's really given me the, I think, skill set and practice through some of the assignments to really get the right thought process going and get myself organized.
Great. Bianca, how do you think the program has impacted your work? I know you've only just started a couple of months ago, but have you noticed any impact so far?
I legit have like 5 examples.
Awesome.
I'll narrow it down to 2.
Okay. Perfect.
First example was in the American healthcare system. We really get into the nuts and bolts in terms of healthcare transformation from a legislative standpoint and understand the historical context. And in that course, we talked a lot about the shift in kind of the responsibility of healthcare data, who's responsible for it. And there was a very interesting tidbit about the payer perspective. And so I was actually in an executive meeting for a large practice group in the Southeast area. And the conversation took a turn around, they were concerned that my company was creating a partnership with the large payers and that we were contributing to kind of the misuse of data, or essentially turning over data to payer control and government control. And having taken and completed that class, not only was I able to provide perspective from the company, but the insights that I gained from that class as well to kind of calm his concerns around the payer's part in leveraging healthcare data and health records. So that's one example. The second example is in the current class that I'm in, which is healthcare operations. I'm actually building out the advisory services infrastructure exclusively for our EHR clients. And so in understanding process improvement and understanding flow, I've been able to immediately apply some of the things that I'm learning to improving the process. And it's more from an internal resource standpoint, like how do we get a client engaged? How do we leverage the right resources and get the client what they need? But it's been incredibly helpful. So just 2 of a million examples, but I'll stop there.
Okay, thanks so much. So one more question from me for the 2 of you, and then I'll go to a couple of these questions coming in from attendees. Can you, and Chuck, you might be able to answer this a little bit better since you've been in the program longer, but can you tell us a little bit about the cohort experience? Have you, what sort of network have you built through this program?
It's been, I think, pretty remarkable because I think initially, I guess I wondered how that would work since we're not all in the same space for that much time. However, I think it's through different means, even phone calls, but also many of us use Slack as a way to keep in touch with each other. I know some people use WhatsApp, but we are constantly communicating with each other through that way in the context of courses with questions. Then also, certainly when we meet or if people are in town, we try to meet up in that way. And so I think we've really grown to know each other as a group, which has been very nice. And we're talking about ways to, stay in touch afterwards, both personally and professionally, which has been very rewarding.
Yeah, and one thing I want to mention, you talked about staying in touch afterwards. We do keep alumni very engaged with the program. For example, at the on-campus session, there's one day every year that the alumni get to come back for that day. So it's a little bit of a reunion for them, and it's a way for them to meet and mingle with the current students. And we have alumni come back for to attend our online MHCI speaker series, and we keep in touch with them a lot. So there's certainly a lot of that goes on. Bianca, anything else you'd want to add about the network that you've built, connections you've made, and just the couple of months you've been in the program so far?
Yeah, I totally echo Chuck's sentiments. The health seminar in August is invaluable. So unless the cost to not go is like your firstborn, please move whatever you need to move to attend that seminar because it is amazing. It is kind of an organic, irreplaceable kind of networking where you meet with your cohort, you're having these good conversations. They're all informal, but they're also meaningful, and everybody's intentional and excited, and they have great energy. And it's this perfect mix of we can change the world, but we have a very realistic approach to what it takes to changing the world. And very similar to Chuck, we've built several kind of communication levers outside of class, chat and WhatsApp and all that to make sure that we stay in touch. So even though I've been around for a couple of months, it's like I can see a discussion and I can almost guess in my mind who in my cohort wrote that. And the live sessions, the sync sessions are very engaging as well. So I have about 5 cards right now at my desk from just cards that I collected from my cohort. So been a great experience so far.
Thanks. So Bianca, this question is for you from an attendee. So you already have an MBA. Why did you decide to pursue another master's program?
Sure. I entered into the 5-year program in my undergraduate school, and I was taking the direction of business. My degree was accounting and finance. And the MBA has, I guess, served me well, but my entire career is entrenched in healthcare. And I want to continue that trajectory. So the deeper I get into it in terms of knowledge and client best practices and technology and kind of really understanding the trends in healthcare, I wanted to deepen my experience. And the actual experience of my career has been very helpful, but this program really seemed to complement it in a way that no other program had. So quite honestly, I wasn't even considering a graduate degree, but when I was looking at just different options career-wise and came across this program, it just felt like such a good fit.
Thanks. This question is for both of you. What did you learn or gain from the program that you would not have learned otherwise through just practical work experience? Whoever would like to start can start.
So for me, it's definitely been a great way to formalize some of my work experiences with formal education. Through the courses, I'm definitely reading material about different areas. For example, healthcare operations, more theory behind it, and also being able to interact with actual professors instead of just kind of on-the-job learning. So I guess I kind of did it backwards in that sense, but it's been really helpful in that way. Same thing with process improvement. Again, it was more just kind of being the quality officer and being put into that role and kind of figuring out how to improve quality, but then taking a course on healthcare operations and quality improvement, process improvement really was helpful. And the thing that I never had much experience about, aside from maybe reading a couple books like Nudge, is more about behavioral economics and how powerful that can be really to, promote change in healthcare.
Awesome. Bianca, anything you'd want to add?
No, very similar. I'm still have more courses, but so far in the 2 courses I've had, the biggest thing has been the formal and the historical context, and looking at healthcare from like a legislative and historical lens. As much as I love healthcare, I read periodicals and I'm entrenched in it. I don't know if I've ever gone back, 100 years to kind of understand the foundation of it. So that context has been something I don't know if I would have gotten from my experience.
Great, thank you. I know there are a bunch more questions. In the interest of time, I'm going to proceed with the slides, and then once we get to the Q&A, I'll come back and try to get to as many of these questions as possible. If I don't get to your question, please just email me. I'm definitely happy to talk to you outside of this session. So now that you've heard what the curriculum entails, how the courses work, what sort of student the program is designed for, if you think that you would be a good fit for this program, the next step obviously is to apply. The first deadline is February 14th. There are actually 2 application deadlines. Both of them are to be able to start the program in August. The early application deadline, the advantage of that applying in February is that you would get your decision sooner. You'd get your decision in mid-March. But if you are not ready to apply that soon, you can still apply by that final May 1st deadline to start the program in August. So the application is up and open on our website. improvinghealthcare.net is where you can find it. In order to be eligible to apply, you have to have a bachelor's degree and a minimum of at least 3 years of professional experience in healthcare or in a related field. If your professional experience is in a related field but not directly in healthcare, I encourage you in your application in the personal statement to make a really strong case for how your experience will apply to this degree and how it will transition into an impactful career in healthcare. So on the online application, you'll fill out an online form. You'll be asked to upload a personal statement explaining why you want to do the program, what goals you have, and how you want to use what you learn in the degree. And I really encourage you to be as specific as you can in the personal statement. You'll also be asked in that online application to upload a current CV or resume, and you'll be asked for contact information for 2 recommenders. So just a note, in the online form, when you put in your recommender's contact information, as soon as you save it or go on to the next section, they'll automatically get an email asking them to upload a letter. So just give them a heads up before you fill out that contact information so they know what it is when they see that email. Outside of the online application, you'll need to send in official transcripts from your previous schools. Those need to be sent directly from the institution to us. It can either be an electronic copy or a hard copy. And I want to mention that admissions are not rolling, so your application will get reviewed starting after that application deadline, and then you get your decision a few weeks after the application deadline. So we're almost at the end of the presentation. Before we get to the Q&A, I do want to mention that there are a couple of certificate options. I know we had a couple questions come in about the certificate, so hopefully this will answer those. There is a professional development track that our department offers. They're 4 or 6 week online courses. They have a very similar format to the MHCI classes, but they are not credit courses. So you can't transfer them into the MHCI or into another degree program because they're professional development. They don't carry any academic course credits. So if you think that maybe a full-fledged master's degree isn't quite the right fit for you, maybe you don't have that sort of time or financial capacity, maybe the professional development courses would be a good fit. They're less time intensive, less rigorous, and less expensive than master's degree classes would be. You can take courses individually, a la carte, according to whatever you're interested in, or you can take 4 to get a professional development certificate. So that professional development, those courses are open to anybody to take, to sign up for. Our department does also offer an academic credit certificate. That's the one that Chuck had done. That certificate is only open to people who are at Penn. So Penn employees or students who are already in a professional or graduate program at Penn. Those are academic credit courses. They're equivalent courses to MHCI courses, so those can get transferred into the program. And it's 4 courses to complete that certificate. So if you're interested in learning more about the certificates, you can read more on the website, improvinghealthcare.net, or feel free to email me. I'm happy to talk to you outside of this session. So that's the end of the presentation. That first deadline, again, is February 14th. If you go onto our website, you can find the application, and you'll be asked to create an account in order to do that. So now this is your time for questions. I'm going to go back and get some of those questions that came in earlier. So let's see. Does the diploma make any reference to online? No, it's just called a Master of Healthcare Innovation. That's what your diploma will say. You can just simply write it as MHCI or a Master of Healthcare Innovation on your resume or wherever you would like to list it. A question about the professional development offering is the Foundations of Behavioral Economics class. So that's one of the professional development classes. Is it different from the core class Behavioral Economics in the MHCI program? And the answer is yes. The professional development version is non-credit. It's not as quite a deep dive. It's a bit less rigorous, and there's less faculty interaction. So those are 2 separate classes on a very similar topic. And I also want to encourage you, if you have a microphone, you can unmute yourselves and feel free to speak up if you want to do that too. Okay, a few more questions from the chat. If you begin with certificate courses, can you later apply them to the master's program? So in the professional development track that's open to everyone, no, those cannot be transferred into the master's program. They're non-credit courses. If you're at Penn, you can take those academic credit certificate courses, and those can be transferred into the master's program. How long has the MHCI program been around? We just started the 3rd year of the program, so the newest cohort that Bianca is in is the 3rd cohort of the program, and we graduated the very first cohort just a few months ago in May. So one question that we get a lot, and it looks like a few of you are interested in this, is what's the difference between the MHCI and other kind of similar degrees, like maybe an MBA or an MHA, a Master of Healthcare Administration, or say an MPH? Again, if you think back to that competencies slide, sort of towards the beginning, the Master of Healthcare Innovation is really focusing on that combined skill set in innovation and leadership, which is a pretty unique combination that's not quite as focused on in those degrees. The MHCI will also really contextualize your role in the larger healthcare system, which is something that's pretty unique about it. And it's the combination of these 4 areas focused on together that makes the MHCI curriculum pretty unique. An MBA, on the other hand, would be a little bit more broadly applied. It wouldn't be as healthcare focused. And an MBA would be more management focused, whereas the MHCI is, it helps you think about improving healthcare at all different levels of the system and not just at a management level. An MHA, so a Master of Healthcare Administration, there might be some overlap, but an MHA probably would include more financial and management related courses, which is not a focus of the MHCI. Most students in an MHA are either already in administration or they're going into administration. In the MHCI, there's a lot wider variety of professional roles among students. We definitely have some administrators, but you'll have people at all different levels of the system from all different levels of healthcare, all different sectors, excuse me, of healthcare. And MPH, again, there's a little bit of overlap in curriculum, and MPH would likely have some epidemiology, environmental health, occupational health, which are not covered in the MHCI. Is this a fully accredited degree equivalent to an in-person master's degree? Yes, the degree is accredited just like any other degree program at Penn through the Middle States Commission on Higher Education. I work in healthcare technology. Is this a good fit for this program? Yes, we have several students right now who work in healthcare technology who are doing very well in the program and seem to get a lot out of it. Is this program good for individuals coming straight from undergraduate school, or is it more tailored to people who have extensive professional experience? This program is not tailored to people coming right out of undergrad. There might be cases where someone has enough professional experience in healthcare and then maybe went back to school later, where that might make sense. But if you're a more traditional student who is just coming out of undergrad, you probably don't have enough work experience to apply to the degree. The reason we have that 3 years of professional experience minimum is that a lot of the assignments and coursework is designed for people who have a good working knowledge of the healthcare system and who are in positions where they really will be able to apply a lot of what they're learning already. Let's see, did I miss anything from before? Are books included? Books are not included, but there are very few books required for this degree. The few books that are required tend to be paperback books around $20. There's none of those, $300 giant textbooks. Most of the readings in the degree are articles that are available for download as PDFs right from the courses. Is there tuition support or scholarships available? There are no scholarships available right now. Students are US citizens, can apply for federal financial aid if they want to go that route. I would encourage you to check out any professional associations you're a part of. Sometimes they offer scholarships for members. And do some searches into outside organizations who offer scholarships. You might search for healthcare graduate degree scholarships. You might even look into, searching for scholarships for MHAs or MPHs. A lot of times those are would include topics that could cover the MHCI as well. A question from somebody who had to join the program late. Can you go over the tuition again? No problem. So the total tuition from for the entire program is roughly $63,000. That's all tuition and fees included. I see a few of you are Penn employees. There are tuition benefits available for University of Pennsylvania employees as well as health system employees. So if that's the case for you, I'm happy to talk to you about that outside of the session. It really depends on your individual situation, how much tuition assistance there would be from that.
Chuck and Bianca, there's a question for you. How is this being received by your peers?
So I think for those who are interested, I think they're just a little amazed that I'm able to fit it in, but honestly, the time estimation is correct. I mean, it's anywhere from 10 to 15 hours a week, but it really is what you put into it. So most of the time really is spent reading and thinking about the assignments. And so I think from that standpoint, my peers, I think it's a good idea, and some have actually expressed interest in taking some courses. So I think it's been a good thing.
The main responses I've gotten is either they're jealous, like this is so exciting, I want it also, Or is it really hard, and are you crazy, and do you have extra hours in the day that I don't have? And I do mirror Chuck's sentiments in that the time estimations are pretty realistic. And I've actually even gotten pulled into engagements and projects around value-based care just because I've shared that I'm a part of this program, and my managers feel like I can learn from it, and then I can contribute things that I've learned from my coursework into the projects. So.
That's awesome. Thank you. So we are at or slightly after 5 o'clock. If you have any other questions, I just put my email address up in the chat again, and it's also here at the bottom of this slide, along with my phone number. I'll read it out in case any of you are on the phone. It's MEHP online. So that's Medical Ethics and Health Policy online at pennmedicine.upenn.edu. Feel free to email me or call me with any other questions after the session. Thanks, Chuck and Bianca, for taking the time out of your very busy schedules to do this. And have a good night, everybody. Thanks for joining.